Hey guys, this is AI Gaming 1776 and I'd like to show you some of my Z170 hardware. But before we get into that, I need to tell you I'm having a pretty bad allergy attack right now. I've got some pretty bad allergies and hopefully we're both going to get through this video just fine. But I'm letting you know in case there's any issues because I do not edit my videos. Alright? So let's talk Z170 because in my last video I showed you guys my main test system. My main test system is a 4790 Haswell system. 4790 non-K means the system is locked. You can't overclock it. Now, why would I use a system like that, you might ask? The short version is I try to test games in a way that is helpful for most people. If I use a $1,000 processor and a top-of-the-line computer in every way possible, then that's good for testing the GPU, right? Because it removes a bunch of bottlenecks, but it doesn't necessarily show how the average person will experience the game. So I make sure to test all of my games with that Haswell system. However, with that said, I still need a good system to see what a GPU can really do, and that's why I have the Z170 system. So let me go over here and tell you about it. This right here is Roxanne. This is the first computer that I ever built on my own, and she used to be a 4790K system, and now she's a 6700K system, all right? So the 6700K inside Roxanne is 4.535 gigahertz because that is what is stable in every single game, right? It's air-cooled, as you can see. It's got a huge Fantex cooler on it, and I can do 4.6 gigahertz, but it's not stable in every game. Sometimes it crashes. So I try to be realistic, right? Now, one of the reasons why you see two computer cases in front of you is because ultimately I will be moving some of the parts from this system on your right, this system right here. Some of these parts will go to that system because that system can accommodate something special, some water cooling kit that this one cannot, all right? So anyway, Z170, I'm using the 6700K. 4.535 gigahertz stable. It's air cooled. In it right now for the GPU, and this is just what's in it right now. This is a test system. GPUs come in and out all the time. This is a Seahawk X from MSI 1070. All right, it's a pretty good GPU. I really like it. And then we talk about the power supply. That is a Platinum 1200 watt P2 from EVGA. And then I do have some, what EVGA does is they sell custom wires, custom cables. Some people like them, some people don't, but I've got white ones that go to my white Asus Tough Sabertooth motherboard. It's not fully white because Asus doesn't ever make those fully white. They're kind of a camouflage, if you will. With the Haswell generation, it was old school camouflage. With the Skylake generation, it's a digital camouflage, but it's mostly white. Even the back of it's white. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful board. The PCB is white. Anyway, I also have 16 gigabytes of Corsair Vengeance DDR4 RAM, and that is clocked to 2400 megahertz. And this has been my Skylake system, right? So what I've done so far is my Haswell system and my Skylake system, they're in the same kind of case, which is a Phantom 410 from NZXT. And the reason I choose this case is it's a mid-tower, right? Like, here's what you guys have to understand. The goal of what I do with my testing is to try to show you how hardware might really work for you. A lot of game testers, a lot of the famous ones on YouTube, they're using really high-end, top-of-the-line gear, and even the cases play a part. When you look at a Jay's 2 Cents video and you see Skunkworks and it's in that giant case, first of all, it gives all the components a lot of space to breathe. Oh, but he water cools, so that almost doesn't matter. But if he did, it would definitely matter. I think mid-tower cases are good for testing. Again, everything goes back to middle of the road. I want to try to see how games and hardware will work for the average person. All right. Again, that's why I go with the Haswell in the mid-tower. But then if I want apples to apples, if I want to see what difference my 6700K is making, then I also want to have a similar case. Now, the problem is, what I've seen over the last year or so of using the well, it's not even been a full year with the 6700K, but what I've seen over the course of time that I've been using it is it's only about 10 or 12 frames per second faster than my Haswell system. And that's on the high end. That's at 1080p. That's using a 1070 with VSync off and just letting it really go. It's about 10, 12, 15 frames per second quicker in some scenarios. Sometimes it's even less of a lead. And I've never been super impressed with that, right? So I started asking myself, well, what can I do to make this more impressive? What can I do to have better results? And the long and the short of it is, I decided that I needed to water cool the CPU and I needed to use faster RAM. Now I've already spent one night, just one night, using the Trident Z RAM that you see right there. This stuff, all right? That is 3200 megahertz Trident Z RAM. It XMP overclocked like a champ automatically with my Asus Tough Sabertooth board. And I got really impressive results just from going from the Corsair Vengeance 2400 RAM to the 3200 megahertz Trident Z RAM. And it was nice. Now the thing is, I only did it for one night. I didn't do real benchmarking where I sat down and I really calculated, you know, what percentage faster it is, things like that. And I'd almost say it's anecdotal at that point because I didn't really put it through its paces. With that said, I was surprised because a lot of YouTube videos have said that going to faster RAM doesn't necessarily matter. Which is all the more reason I need to do more testing with it. But so far, what you have seen on my channel, when you watch a video and it says that I'm using a 6700K, it has been this system, this motherboard, this CPU, this cooler, and so on. And I'm going to take the camera off the tripod in a minute and I'm going to show you some of the more specific stuff going on with this case. But the thing is, I'm about to get in front of the camera, and guys, I'm telling you, my allergies are insane right now. Like, my face is just watering right now. But we're going to get through this, all right? We're going to do this together. All right, so, again, what I wanted to do is I wanted to see just how much I could kick it up, right? So, I got the faster RAM, and that was pretty cool. But I said, you know, to do this correctly, I need to really cool my CPU. So I looked into getting water cooling. I didn't want to do custom water cooling yet. Guys, my skill level on PC building is okay. Like, I'm competent, right? Like, I feel pretty competent. If you asked me to build a computer for you, I could build you a pretty good one. But I'm not like ready to go do custom water cooling yet. You know what I mean? That's a whole nother category of skill set. So I wanted to look into the all-in-one loops. The thing is believe it or not, I've used the Noctua, is it the DH15ND, whatever, you know what I'm talking about, the big Noctua twin tower that competes with that Fantex there. So I've used the Noctua and I've used the Fantex, and they work pretty well. In real gaming, see, this is a 4.535 gigahertz overclock. In real gaming, this computer is usually at 40-something, 50-something degrees. Sometimes it goes into the 60s, right? It's an overclocked Skylake. I don't even have two 140 millimeter fans on it. When I take this off the tripod, I'm going to show you. I have a 100, that's 140, that's 120. I had to do that to make room for the RAM, right? I use low profile RAM, and the 140 millimeter fan still pushed up against my door case for this case. The door for the case, you get it. Anyway, lost my train of thought, but we're going to keep going because I don't want to redo this video, to be perfectly honest with you. Oh yeah, here's my train of thought. Here we go, choo-choo. So even the 240 millimeter EK Predator, in my opinion, wasn't enough, right? Like, I could have put a 240 millimeter EK Predator into the case in front of you. I could have done that, and I think it would have worked out fine. I think most people would have not necessarily been impressed with it, but I think they would have said it's okay. But I wanted to really be able to push my 6700K system. If I'm already using an air-cooled Everyman 4790 system, then I wanted my Z170 system to really step it up. And so I've decided to stop putting them in the exact same cases, to stop having them both be air-cooled, and to really, you know, get down to business. So a lot of the hardware that's in the case in front of you is actually going to go to the case to the left, right? So from here to here, not all of it. The same motherboard's not going to be able to go. I have to use a micro ATX motherboard, which I have. It's an Asus. I can't think of what it is. It's gray. It's a gray Asus board. It's pretty good looking. And then I've got the silver Corsair Air 540 case. In case you don't recognize that, that is an Air 540. And the reason I went with the Air 540 is it will accommodate the EK Predator 360. That is a triple rad, and it should fit right here in the front. And we're going to push the hardware on this channel. Now, I need to do some more testing on the system on your right before I'm ready to transfer everything to the left, all right? Because I still want to do some apples to apples testing. So I got to roll with this for a minute, and then we're going to proceed to the system on the left. And I think it's going to be pretty stellar, to be honest with you. I think it's going to be really good. That triple radiator EK Predator 360. All right, look, we have the CPU air-cooled, overclocked right now, and it's still only in the 40s and 50s during gaming. So I'm expecting it to, at the very least, be really chilly, maybe even overclocked better. And at this point, I'm willing to pick up another 6700K and hope that it overclocks better. I'm willing to try that. And then maybe I'll put this current 6700K into an HTPC or something like that, all right? So that's what I've been using so far. Let me get back in front of the camera. I'm going to show you something, and then I'll take the camera off the tripod and we'll go through the computer. So here we go. Let me go over here real quick, because on the topic of HTPCs, all right, let me move some stuff around. I have been working on one, all right? Here, let me take the Corsair Air 540 out of the way. All right, I probably look like a doofus right now, but we're going to keep going. So I've been working on an HTPC, all right? This is a Silverstone case. It's got a stupid name like ML08B-H, something like that. It's basically, I think it's a little bit thinner than the Raven, and it has a non-handle version called something like the RZV or something, and the front panel on it looks better. It's orange, it's shaped like a chevron. This is really pretty basic right here. So this is a Silverstone case. It's not a good looker, okay? It's not very impressive. It's not anything, but I will tell you why I picked it. The reason I picked it is it's very, very slim. It is very slim, and it has a handle on it. Literally, I don't know why Fractal doesn't put a handle on their cases. This has a handle on it, all right? So that's pretty chill. And inside of it, up top, is a reference, what do you call it, founder's card, GTX 1070, all right? So it blows out the back. It still gets really hot, gets into the 80s. Even with the fan at 85%, it gets into the 80s. I mean, there's so much that goes into why that happens, but trust me, there's not any room for a GPU to breathe in here. All right, and then I have down here is a 4690K with 16 gigabytes of, it's DDR3, obviously DDR3, but it is Kingston, HyperX Fury, Hyper Fury X Fury, you know what it is. All right, so 16 gigabytes DDR3, 4690K. It is not overclocked yet. I have stock cooler on it. So right now, let's say I'm gaming on this at 1440p, because I'm treating this like a real computer, right? Like I'm pushing it to see how far I can push it. And where things are going with this so far is the CPU gets up to 82, 83 degrees. The GPU gets up to about 84 degrees, and that's hot, right? So we're probably going to have to improve the CPU cooling, and I have some tricks up my sleeve for trying to make the GPU cooler. See, the issue is right now, this is passively cooled. There's no fans in here, all right? So the Fractal Node 202 lets you put two 120 millimeter fans underneath the GPU, right? This is really narrow, and you cannot do that, all right? You cannot put fans in here, at least you're not supposed to. So what I did was, I've been practicing with some fans I have laying around the house, and I figured out that I can have a reference cooler in here, and I can probably up in the corner put a 60 millimeter fan, and then underneath it I can put a 40 millimeter fan, all right? And I ordered those. They're actually in. So as soon as I'm done with this video, I'm going to make another video where what I'm going to do is I'm going to zip tie. See this grill here? I'm actually going to zip tie the fans to the grill, all right? Because that's the only way they're really going to mount in an effective manner, if you will. And then I'm going to run, I got Noctua fans because Noctua fans have extension cables, which I need. And then I'm going to route the wire over down to the motherboard, plug that in. It's going to have a Y adapter too. I've already thought all this out. And hopefully this case will be able to work and not have the GPU be so hot because it throttles, blah, blah, blah. And then the CPU, we're going to put a better cooler on that. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to see what would a stock cooler do in here, what would a full-size real GPU do in here. As a side note, this is an EVGA 980 Ti classified. This fits in here if you take a brace out. I've taken the brace out. I should not have done that, but I did. There's a brace over here somewhere you can take out of here. I took it out, and this fits, and this is a giant graphics card. I have a mid tower that this doesn't fit in. That's how big it is. And I think these are like 90mm fans, and it fits in here. Here's the problem. It throttles so badly that within 5 minutes of playing GTA 5, I'm already up to 84 degrees, and it is losing its mind. It's going down to 1200 megahertz, 1100 megahertz. It just cannot cool itself, because this is the kind of card that exhausts. It is internal exhaust. It exhausts itself inside the case, and as a result, like, it smells like there's burning plastic going on. That's how hot it gets inside this case. So we're gonna see if we can rig it. On top of that, in the mail, I have a Node 202 coming, and chances are the Node 202 is gonna beat this, because you can put 2 real 120mm fans in it, and then you can still ghetto zip tie little bitty fans to the grill too. So I think the Node 202 is gonna work. Here's the problem, right? Like, if you want your HTPC to be like powerful and really push it and do 1440p and 4K gaming, it's looking like you are gonna have some fan noise. All right, it's going to be a mixed bag. Now, if you do 1080p gaming, I don't think it's going to be as big of a deal. But remember, when I test hardware, I want to test it. Okay? One of the things that I really do not like is when people say, oh, well, you're stupid to expect this to do 1440p. It's made for 1080p. You're stupid. No, listen, guys. When it comes to PC gaming, nothing is stupid. Some ideas are better than others. Some ideas are good ideas. Some ideas are bad ideas, but you're not necessarily stupid. What is the point of having all this interchangeable hardware if you're not finding out what it can do? I've taken an AMD R9 380 and played Grand Theft Auto 5 at 1080p 1440p 60 frames per second, and it looks great. But most people would tell you that's stupid. Why would you use an R9 380 to play Grand Theft Auto 5 in 1440p? And I agree with you. Like, I would never recommend that you do it, but I wanted to, because that's where my passion is, right? Like, why do this? Why even watch videos on YouTube about some guy building computers if you don't have passion, right? So in my mind, passion is what wins the day, and yeah, it is borderline stupid. Expecting this graphics card to go into here and work is stupid. I get that. I get it. But I did it anyway because I wanted to find out. Bad idea. Really bad idea. Don't do that. Don't put a big giant internal exhaust card in here, because it's a bad idea. The thing is, though, it fit. That's what impressed me, is it physically fit. And that within itself is a victory. Anyway, I digress. Where are we going to go with this next? Remember, we're not going to edit this video. Oh, tripod. We're going to take the camera off the tripod now. You want to check this out? Would you like a close-up? Hold on. I'm telling you guys, I'm surprised I've held it together this well with these allergies. Sorry for bouncing the camera around, and come on, there we go. Here we go. All right, so again, this is Roxanne. I love Roxanne. I'm gonna miss her. She's been a very, very, very good computer for me. Again, this is the first computer I ever built. Now again, it was a 4790K when I first built it. You wanna know the truth? I killed that computer on accident. I'd been going on very little sleep, and I killed it, and maybe I'll save that for another story, but I just had a dyslexic moment, and I killed my 4790K processor. As a matter of fact, there is a fun story about how a decent-sized YouTuber helped me out in that instance, to be honest with you, but that's maybe a story for another day. Anyway, yeah, I love the PC gaming community. It's one of the better communities on all of the internet, if I'm honest. All right, so here we go. You can see the little HTPC over here. You can see Roxanne over here. So what I did here is, this is the Fantex tower cooler. Oh, the blue fans. I'm not in love with the blue fans, that light that you see coming from up there. But these are the fans that came with this case. And I've said it before, the fans that came with this case are actually, they're decent enough, and they're already tied into a fan controller right there. So long story short, I usually leave some of the fans in this case. Now I did put some Noctuas there for intake. I have two 120s there. This cabling mess that you see in front of you, this is set up for SLI. So there are 4 8-pin wires right there. Obviously, they're the kind where it's like 6-pin plus 2. This is because not every card uses 8 pins. But I have 4 of those right there. And what I've done is I've routed them so they come out of the power supply, they go behind here, and then they come out here, right? So again, what I do with my computers, these are work computers. They're not made to be super beautiful and make sexy B-roll and all of that. They are made to look good. I think this is a good looking computer. I think maybe the lighting isn't going to do it justice. But this is a really good looking computer, a really enjoyable computer. But I do have to do some things that sacrifice aesthetics. Like I have a bunch of cords pushed into here. So if I put in like a 980 Ti where I need a second cable, it's there. And then back further is 2 more cables for when I do SLI and for when I do Crossfire, for that matter, because I test AMD and NVIDIA. All right, and then for the air cooler, what I did was, I already explained this, but my system RAM is behind that 120mm fan. And the problem with this Fantex is it's just narrow enough that see how the 140mm fan sticks out, right? The 120mm fan does not, but the 140mm does. If I can even show that off. Hopefully it shows up in the video. All right, so that's flush and it doesn't come anywhere near the door at all. But this one almost touches the door, all right? That's pushed back as far as it goes, 140mm fan. But when you couple 140mm with the RAM, it pushes against the door and it actually was bulging and I actually scratched my clear window. So I ended up using a 120. Keep in mind that even under load, even when we're gaming non-stop, even when we're gaming for like 4 hours, like real hardcore testing, it still only gets up to, I don't know, 60 some odd degrees. And that's what it like peaks at, right? I mean, it usually stays in the 40s and 50s still. So it's not that bad. But again, once we get the EK Predator 360, that should be pretty stellar. Oh, let me tell you one more thing. This is a common sense thing, but I think a lot of people do not understand this. So when you have an air-cooled computer system, let's say the GPU's air-cooled and the CPU's air-cooled, what's going to happen is hot air is going to be inside your case whether you like it or not, especially if you have powerful graphics cards, and then especially if you're overclocking. Hot air will be inside your case. A lot of times people watch my videos, and I suspect they're using something like a Corsair closed-loop cooler on their CPU, and they don't understand that if their graphics card is like 4 degrees colder than mine in my videos, because I show you guys all of my stats in my videos, I think a lot of people do not understand that they are benefiting from the fact that their CPU cooler isn't blowing hot air into the case, right? Now, I've done a lot of testing, guys. I've done a lot of IDA64 testing and hardware monitoring testing. And I'm telling you, when you have an air-cooled case, your components are putting heat into the case. And that's really evident when you have a case that's small like this, but it still happens in mid-towers too. And again, to touch an earlier point that I made, I really think if I had a giant like Case Labs case, I think that the air cooling would actually have more room. I think my components would be even cooler still. But I use mid-towers because I think, again, they're middle of the road, blah, blah, blah. And I've already talked too much. So the whole point was to show you some of my hardware that I do for testing, let you know some of the stuff that I'm up to, kind of catch you guys up to what's going on. I know I just did an update video like 3 or 4 days ago, and that was like a main update video. This is supplementary to an extent, but it also shows you my Z170 system. And again, I will be transferring it over to the Corsair Air 540 down there, and I think it's going to have some really, really solid results. I think the water cooling is going to have some good results. What I'm thinking about doing with the Air 540 is actually getting an EK Predator 240 to go at the 360 and probably set up, a situation where my CPU and my GPU are water cooled and even put on some custom water blocks, maybe on one of my reference cards. I'm going to go crazy with it. And then eventually I will do a custom water build system, water cooled system. I'm just, trying to work my way up there. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully this video has been informative or entertaining or has, in some way been good for you to watch. Thanks for watching the whole thing, by the way. I do appreciate your patronage and you guys viewing my videos. I work really hard on this stuff. I really do. This video alone took 3 hours to set up. I know it doesn't look like it, but I had to really like plan a bunch of stuff out, and you know, again, I'm talking too much. So have yourselves an excellent day. Again, hopefully you've enjoyed it, and I have another video to record after this. So peace out.